Hello, welcome to Inside Bodymoor, our Aston Villa preview show to look ahead to Crystal Palace on Saturday afternoon, our first 3 o'clock kickoff for what feels like forever. Although you'll probably correct me in a minute and say that's wrong. I'm Dan Robertson, joined by John Townley, as John Townley reports back from being inside Bodymoor this afternoon. Just have to explain what the name for this show is every week, it feels like. John, how are you? How's things?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Back at home. Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. Obviously, we played Everton, played Hibs, but we had 3 away Premier League games, 1 at home. So, yeah, nice to get back to Villa Park tomorrow or on Saturday. And, yeah, feeling confident as well. We need a win, really. 2 losses, 2 wins. It'd be nice to get a 3rd win on the board and climb the table a little bit. It is early, of course, but I think we could get to like 7th tomorrow, maybe 6th. But, yeah, that'll be a nice way to start the weekend, I suppose. I suppose the start of the weekend has just happened, but
I mean, we are doing this live, by the way, for the people that are listening to this. I mean, it's a very short shelf life for this show tonight. It's 6:30 as we record. Obviously, the game is 3 o'clock. So, for those that are listening to this after the fact, this was recorded live. So, bear with us a bit. It's been one of those days for me. I've been absolutely all over the place. Before we just started, I was running around here, there, and everywhere doing stuff at home. Let's get into it then with the presser, the part of the show that we normally start with, where the first question I usually ask you is, how was Unai Emery? We changed that up in terms of the order this week. What was the food like, John? What have you had? Talk to me.
I've had a cookie. I didn't really eat much.
And what I do these days?
I barely had my lunch, to be fair. I've been like everywhere, and it's nearly 7 o'clock at the time of recording. But yeah. Dan, you can't complain though. It's free food.
Yeah.
Cookies are nice.
Something a bit more substantial these days.
No, it's only a press conference. So I'll take what I can get at Bodymoor. It's a bit out of the way. Like, you have to obviously travel out of Birmingham to get there. So there's no, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just go to the co-op afterwards or something. You've got to come all the way back home. And yeah, not going to complain though. Cookies were nice. I had 2 of them and a bottle of water. So yeah, can't complain.
I would complain if I were you. It doesn't seem good enough for a Premier League football club, but we'll move on. Unai Emery then, how was he? How was the mood? We spoke in the international break about how bloody boring they are. Was it nice to be back in amongst it and talking about the Premier League?
Yeah, for sure. The international break, we said it previously, but it's just so long. And there's another 2 coming up, one in October, one in November as well. So not looking forward to those. But yeah, nice to be back and amongst it again. Obviously, we've got Europe next week in Poland. I don't think there'll be a press conference at Bodymoor on the Friday because the game's on a Thursday night, obviously. So the players have got to come back. The whole, all the journalists as well. So we won't be able to make it to the press conference if there was one, which there won't be. So it'll be after the, or there might be actually for broadcast. I don't know. Maybe we should clarify that later on down the line, but I won't be there. I'll be flying back to BHX. So yeah, nice to be back amongst it, and I think it's 7 games in 22 days or something that Villa have now.
Pretty mad, isn't it?
Yeah, this is going to be a test of the squad depth.
You're on mute, mate. I think your mic might have just cut out. You mentioned there's 7 days, 7 games in 20 odd days, and I kind of went, it's mad, isn't it? It's a lot of games, but Emery said in the past, we want to be playing lots of games. That's what we're in football for. If you want to go and play multiple competitions, like we will be in the Carabao Cup and games in Europe as well. I'll keep filling for you, John. Don't worry. You want to play a lot of games, don't you? And that's what we're here for.
Got it. Yeah, exactly that. And that's the whole reason why Villa finished 7th last season and why we pushed so hard. He wants to play in Europe. He's played in Europe for 16 years now. And, you get like comments from Tielemans, which we'll go on to, which were kind of blown out of proportion, really. He was only asked a question, but him saying that he wants to play more, and Emery turns back today and says that, well, I want that from my players. I want them to be frustrated when they're not playing, and I want them to improve. And having a long season where Villa could be playing well in excess of 55 games if they go far in the cup competitions, which you'd expect them to, especially in the Conference League. Every player is going to have to play their part, and we'll see that more as the campaign unfolds.
Yeah, what was the kind of standout line then from Emery in the press? I'd kind of ignore any injury updates because we obviously do that separately. Was there anything else interesting that stood out to you?
I think it was just the Tielemans stuff, really. Again, I think it's kind of been blown up. We mentioned on the Monday show, I believe, that he was asked a question about his game time and what's he going to say? He's not going to say he's happy or pleased with it, is he? So Emery was asked about that, and he mentioned, I'm just going to quickly pull it up. I don't have it. And he mentioned that again, he's obviously spoken to him, and he's okay with players knocking on his door because they're trying to improve and trying to better themselves. And I mean, it makes sense, really. If Tielemans wasn't frustrated by it, then is that a player that's going to add much value to the squad? Probably not, and we know he will. And I think when he has played, actually, so far this season, he's done well. He's played out of position a few times because I just think it's so hard to dislodge that partnership between Kamara and Louise. So it's going to be difficult for him to play in that double pivot, whether he plays more advanced. That can be the only resolution, really, unless he starts ahead of one of them and Emery's rotating, but he needs to take a chance as well. So Emery's kind of said that he's, as far as he sees it, it's like I suppose you could say like a non-story, if you will, that he's frustrated or, it's just normal. It's just he was asked a question on international duty, which makes sense, really. He says he's happy with him and he's happy that he wants to improve. And I'm not surprised by how he reacted to the comments that Tielemans made.
Let's go on to injury update then. That's always the bulk of a press. That's the things people are most interested in.
Yeah.
The things that fancy Premier League managers across the country are looking at thinking, is he going to be back this week? Is he back this week? Who's fit? The headline news, I guess, is Alex Moreno has been training with the squad and is available, I think was the word, for tomorrow's game. Do you want to kind of round up the injury news for us?
Yeah. Moreno has been training since last week. Full training, that is. Obviously, he's been working his way back from that hamstring injury. So he's been at Bodymoor for... obviously didn't go to America, but he's been there over the summer, just not training with the group. Or
he's picked on like exercise bikes and stuff, wasn't he?
And
things.
You're loading, sort of in that loading phase again. He must have lost a bit of muscle or whatever after, because there was quite some damage that he did to his hamstring. So he's been out for 4 months nearly.
Yeah.
So it was a big injury. If that was, I don't know, say if he got injured in December, he'd be missing pretty much the rest of the season, give or take.
It's one of those ones that comes at a good time, doesn't it? Because he's only missed the summer break, really.
Yeah, and if there's any player in the squad that probably doesn't need a pre-season in terms of getting used to Emery's ideas, if there was one of them, you'd probably say Moreno, because he adapted so quickly to what Emery has asked of him. So hopefully he can play a part tomorrow. I don't know whether he's going to start or not. Obviously, we'll only know at 2:00. I think Luca Dean has actually played very well this season. Obviously, most of the players have struggled against Liverpool and Newcastle, but in terms of the Hibs games, that gave him confidence, and the Everton game, he was very good as well. So if Moreno doesn't start, I still expect Villa to win the game, but hopefully he can play a part. Diego Carlos, he is out. He obviously had a hamstring injury against Liverpool before the September international break, talking too quickly. And it's not clear when he's going to return yet, but he said it's only a small injury, Emery. So I wouldn't expect that to be too far down the line that he returns. But he's quite a big guy, isn't he, Carlos? So you feel that if he's going to pull a muscle, it's going to be quite a... Do you know, that seems to happen when they're...
It's a big muscle to repair, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because he's a big guy. He's powerful, and what we saw with Achilles, that didn't go well. And then the hamstring now, hopefully he won't be out for too long. I don't think it's like necessarily injury prone in his career. I don't have the numbers to hand about how many games
before he came to Villa.
No, of course. That's the way it goes. Bertrand Traore, he's out as well. He seems to be out quite a lot. Yeah. Timmy Rubenham's out, as we know, and obviously Mings and Buendia as well. So that's 6 players, if I've counted them correctly, that are going to be out for tomorrow. Obviously, 2 of them are long-term, and Tim hasn't played yet. But Emery did say that he likes Tim, and he thinks that he can contribute this season as well, which I thought was interesting, because he hasn't really spoken about him too much, because he hasn't played apart from 45 minutes against Walsall, which was the first pre-season game of the summer.
Yeah. You've obviously mentioned Moreno a little bit there, and we'll talk about predicted 11 later in the show. We'll also do our predictions as well and give a quick update on where we are with our head-to-head league table on guessing the right scoreline. It isn't going well, let's face it. The people that are tuning in live on YouTube this evening, get involved in the comments, and we'll read out some of your either comments or score predictions will be handy as well to get a gauge of where people think Villa are going to be at against Palace tomorrow. Just quickly, something we don't usually do, but a bit of an injury update from the Palace side of things. So there seems to be quite a lot. I should have first names here as well, but I don't. I've got Lerma, hamstring injury. Gahey, likely to miss the game. Franca, probably pronounced that wrong, back in a few weeks. Tompkins has a minor injury. And Elise, who's obviously had a bit of a more serious injury, I think, not ready yet, were Hodgson's words there for each of those players. It's quite a lengthy injury list, isn't it? What are you laughing for?
Just the not ready. I can imagine someone asking him, is Michael Elise fit? And he used 3 words. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were the headline words for each player. I think more in-depth report from Hodgson was available elsewhere, but I mean, who really cares? That's quite a lengthy injury list to Palace, isn't it? And already in a game where we'll do predictions in a sec, but I think Villa are better than Crystal Palace and should win tomorrow. But with the injuries that Palace have, I think it weighs heavily in Villa's favour that they are the favourite for tomorrow, even more so than they probably were beforehand.
Yeah, for sure.
He is a huge miss, isn't he, for example?
I was going to say I think that's the key miss. I think Jefferson Lerma is actually a very good player. I think he gives a lot of bite in midfield. I don't know how many games he's missed Lerma, but I didn't expect him to miss the game. Obviously, I haven't been following Palace so far this season. They'll finish 11th again this campaign, I'm sure. They're just one of those things. They kind of just get the results at home when they need to and lose most of the games away. Like 2-0 Palace tomorrow, but. Yeah, that's quite an extensive injury list, and Mark Gay, as you say, is a key player for them. I think is their captain. He obviously got an injury on international duty with England, a half-time winner, and Harry Maguire came on, and loads of stories have come after that. Yeah. So, yeah, Villa come into the game as clear favourites for sure, but at the same time, it's going to be a Palace team. They're going to sit behind the ball, playing for a point. But they do have some top players as well. Eze, I've got a stat for you on Eze. He's completed 13 dribbles and created 7 chances from set plays in this season's Premier League, which is more than any other player. And Villa aren't so clever at defending set pieces since Emery arrived, actually. And maybe we'll get onto that later on. But Odsonne Edouard as well has been amongst the goals. Palace have always had struggles in front of goal, at least over the past couple of seasons. And obviously they've had Sahara, who's appears to have carried them, I suppose, in some ways. And I don't know whether him leaving has helped them overall. I don't know. Kind of that Jack Grealish, Harry Kane situation of,
they've adapted quite well with that, haven't they, so far?
Yeah, kind of the main player leaving and then other players step up. I don't know. I haven't really watched them too much. I know they've got some good results. 7 points from their first 4 games. So they sit above Villa. Steady start for Palace, and I think they're unbeaten in both of their away games so far this season. They beat Sheffield United and got a draw against Brentford, so that's 2 very good results away from home. Yeah,
so I've got the score lines in front of me. I was going to say I've not watched much, if any, of Crystal Palace this year besides goal highlights, so we're not going to offer any insight here. But yeah, beat Sheffield United, lost to Arsenal 1-0, drew with Brentford, beat Wolves 3-2 last game before the international break. 7 points from 4. I suppose the kind of wider talking point here is that I think this is probably a decent barometer of where Villa are in a weird way, which probably sounds a little bit silly. But in Everton and Burnley, we've played 2 sides who, we were kind of overhyping Burnley a little bit so far. They could still go on to a half decent season, but at the moment they're not a good side. You've got Everton and Burnley who are bottom 6 sides. Let's say Newcastle and Liverpool are top 6 sides, probably more so than that. Palace, like you've already alluded to, will finish 11th. They're going to be 10th, 11th, or 12th, aren't they? We've beat the sides who are in the you're going to expect to be in the bottom 6. We've lost to the sides you expect to be in the top 6. Can Villa make up the numbers points wise by beating sides like Palace at home, who are going to be a steady mid-table team? They'll win one, they'll lose one, win one, lose one. If Villa can comfortably beat Palace tomorrow and put on a good performance and get the job done, I would look at that as probably one of our most knowledgeable results in such a small sample size of going, well, I can take a lot from that because Palace are going to be middle of the table. If we can comfortably dispatch them, we're automatically kind of best of the rest of the top 6, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and Palace come across to me, at least, as a team that are always going to be in games as well, at least so far this season. I mean, they lost to Arsenal. That was their only loss of the season, actually, and they only lost by 1 goal, if memory serves me correctly. They haven't lost. Hold on, let me read this accurately. They haven't gone unbeaten in their first 3 top-flight league games since 1994. So if they avoid defeat against Villa, that's their best start away from home, basically, for 30 years or so. They're well drilled, but I think it's one of those as well. If Villa win, you can't really get. I don't know. You're not going to get carried away by beating Palace at home, Dan. But I think it's one of those where Villa need to get those results. Emery said in his press conference today, he said that at the moment I think he said we're like a balance. Obviously, we've lost 1-2. Palace is if we don't win, all of a sudden you're thinking, bad start. But if we win, it's like, it's fine because Newcastle and Liverpool are difficult games. So I think you've got to take it all into context. Like, I know this is going a bit off track, but I saw earlier that Newcastle have had to come out to back Eddie Howe, which is just they finished 4th. I know they've got good players, but you look at the start of the season they've played Villa, which is a tough game for anyone, and they won 5-1, although, maybe the scoreline should have been more equal, I don't know, but they still beat us. Teams will lose to Brighton away, and they lost to Man City away, and then they lost to Liverpool. Like, I know they're 3 defeats on the road and have got big aspirations and stuff, but if you take those games as singular, there's not, you can't tell me that those teams. So
if those results were spread out between a couple of wins at home, you just go, that's a difficult place to go. It's just because they're in a row. It looks worse than it is.
Can you lose to Liverpool at home? Yes. Can you lose to City away? Yes. And can you lose to Brighton away? Yes. So for Villa, it's the same thing of, can you lose to Newcastle and Liverpool away? Absolutely. You can. Teams will. So do you know what I mean? If we can go on a decent run of form now, go to Chelsea and get a result, hopefully, beat Palace, that sort of thing, then all of a sudden you're looking at it and thinking, well, Villa are in 6th after how many games would that be? 6 games. Played a European game, and all of a sudden that's a brilliant start. And you forget about Newcastle and you forget about Liverpool and those kind of, I don't want to say poor performances, because maybe that's been a bit harsh, but there were some mistakes in those games. It's still the start of the season, and as we said last season, we gave teams 13 games on us last year, and we still finished where we finished. So we're still in a good place, but you must caveat with, we do need to get results though. If we don't get something against Palace, then that's so if we don't beat Palace, because I think you need to win your home games against teams that you're going to be finishing above, hopefully. You have to do that. And tomorrow is it's a big game.
We spoke about it on the Monday show this week, just gone about the stat without Ollie Watkins XG and how it's the most XG in the league without having scored a goal yet, and how silly that is after 4 games. So the same kind of thing with the league table. It's 2 games played, 2 won, 2 lost. It's you kind of look at bigger trends further down the season, and from a podcast perspective, we had grand plans over the summer to do a video every day and all these kind of things, because at the back end of last year we were doing that. But you're talking about a whole season that's come before it. We can't have these wider discussions about individuals or something after 3 or 4 games. It's like,
and that's why
10 games or so before we start over-analysing things.
Yeah, it's like there's only so much you can ask Unai Emery with 4 games gone. So you want to kind of get to the meaty part of the season, and when Villa do get to that part, kind of after Christmas, I think they'll be in a good position. But it's the game against Crystal Palace at home that you need to win, because you'll look back at it and think, oh well, if we played that game now in May, we'd win, because there'd be so much enthusiasm and positivity, and we'd be so much better after months of practice in Unai's system that he's trying to play this season. So you need to win the games that you're expected to, basically, if we're trying to finish top 7 again.
Yeah. Talking of small sample sizes, we've played 4 games against Crystal Palace at Villa Park since we got promoted. Do you want to have a guess at the record we've got against them at home?
4 games since. Okay,
since we got promoted. 4 games at home. Yeah.
Okay, I won't overthink it, because that ruins the concept. I think we've probably won like 3. Is that right?
Yeah, won 3, drawn 1. So beaten against Palace at Villa Park.
I remember the draw. I was in Porto for that, and I had it on my phone.
Fair play. Great fan. The point here is that Villa are good at Villa Park as well. What is it, 7 or 8 wins at Villa Park in a row, dating back into last season as well. Like, we spoke about Fortress Villa Park, haven't we? And these are the games that you do expect to go to as a fan and think, we'll win today because we're playing a side that we're better than. We're very good at home. And like I said, we'll do predictions in a bit, but that's, spoiler alert, I'm going for a win. Just wanted to go back to the Matty Cash interview we did in the summer, or you did rather, and the point that he made about how Unai Emery will assess the previous game at the stadium they're about to play at, which is a terrible way of saying it. But if we're about to play at home, they don't watch Liverpool away. They watch the previous home game. And obviously, we've had 2 away games in a row since we last played at home. So if what Cash said is true, which obviously it is, they'll be looking at the Everton game in preparation for Palace tomorrow, because that was the last home game, which it feels such a long time ago. Do you think that will have any impact? That again, from their perspective, it's like, well, let's just ignore the away games. Let's focus on what we're good at home and do that again.
Yeah, unless he analyses Hibs as well. But there's not much you can take from either game, really. I think the opposition was so poor. But there's actually things I think that we can work on after winning 4-0 against Everton, which says a lot about the Toffees. But I think it's a good idea, because Emery wants to get that feeling for. I think that's actually the words that Cash used. He wants to get the feeling of where Villa are going to be playing and how they're going to play it, and top managers are doing that at the moment, aren't they? I know Arteta does that quite a lot. He brings a lot into training about where they're going to be playing, and it's about the atmosphere and how they cope with the challenges that they're going to get from the game, not only against the 11 players that they'll be playing against. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's just Villa have made, I think, a steady start. Again, I think we expected the results that we've got. Really, I know we've predicted Villa to be unbeaten so far, but that's because we're not going to predict them to lose. But I think it's the margins that have gone against them in terms of us losing 3-0 against Liverpool through some sloppy goals. Newcastle was obviously, we lost by 4, conceded 5, but lost by 4. And even the Burnley game, it was disappointing how we conceded. So there's a lot that can be ironed out, I think, over the coming weeks. I just hope that that can happen quickly, if that makes sense. You don't want to become a thing where Pau Torres is still making a few mistakes here and there come 2 months, down the line. Not just to pick on Pau Torres, by the way, but as a general point. And yeah, I think Emery will get his players working towards exactly what he wants as the season goes on. We've just got to get results, as many results as we can, and points even, up until that sort of November, because then it's the international break, the final international break then, and then you can really start to assess where Villa are. We would have played in quite a few European games then as well. So
yeah, let's go to the predicted 11 then, the part of the show where, let's clarify this once and for all, so that we have this confusion every single week. Are you here giving me a team that you think Emery will play, or is this the team you would like to see play?
This is the team that I think Emery is going to play, hence predicted.
Yeah.
The predicted 11.
But you could be like, well, I want to see this. This is my predicted 11, but this is your version of what you think Emery will do.
I don't think that would work if it was my predicted 11, because it is my predicted 11, but it's my prediction of what Emery's going to play. So,
okay, let's flash it up on screen then and talk me through it. One change, is it? Moreno for Dean?
Carlos isn't playing either, so
of course,
2 changes. Yeah. So I think I have Bailey in there. Bailey in there as well. Bailey and McGinn will probably be switched from the graphic, but it's transitioned down. They change every now and again. Yeah, I picked Moreno just because he's been training for 2 weeks and because he's available. He might play Luca Dean instead. That's just kind of a flip of a coin sort of thing. I don't know. He said that he's kind of he's been training well, so I've kind of just put him in there. This was actually done before the press conference because I felt so confident. I think Bailey could play from the off again because I actually thought he played very well against Everton. I know it was a 4-0 and Villa controlled most of it, but I think he linked very well with Diaby off the right, and it was probably one of Leon Bailey's best games in a Villa shirt, to be honest. And I know it doesn't say too much, but I think he played well, and he's had a lot of criticism. But in that game, particularly at Villa Park, I thought he did good. And against Palace, I think it's another opportunity to kind of get his confidence up a bit more. And I just think he works well on that right side with Diaby. I think they link well. Obviously, they know each other, and I think there could be some opportunity there to, there's not going to be a lot of space, I don't think, when Villa attack, put it that way. And I think we need quite a few attackers to kind of work with each other and combine and be a bit cuter than what we would have been against the team like Everton, who are going to afford so much space because they're just a poor team defensively.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, to be honest. I would say that Dean will probably likely play, although Moreno is trained. I think to just chuck him in from the start, there's no need to rush him because he's obviously a very good player, but Dean's done all right and it should be fairly capable of
win the game
having a decent performance against Palace. Yeah. I would expect maybe Moreno gets minutes in Poland, possibly, or again, you just go with Dean and give Moreno another week and he starts next week against Chelsea, possibly.
Chelsea away, yeah, I'm looking forward to that Chelsea away game actually already. Again, if we can get a result,
Palace, John, come on, one.
No, I know, but if we can get a result against Palace, you go into that Chelsea game, so much confidence, and
they're beatable, aren't they, as well?
Exactly, they're beatable. We did it last season 2-0, and again, if we can get 2 results over the next 2 weeks, then we're in a good place. And I'm not sure, is it Brighton and then Wolves? I think
something like that.
Yeah. Break. You got West Ham coming up as well after then, so it's not no Premier League game's easy, but Palace at home, just win the game, whatever the scoreline.
Yeah. I'm going to have to be met here by a chorus of boos. There is no opposition view on this episode of Inside Bodymoor. I have to just get that out there and clarify for people who have been waiting to hear the expert view on Crystal Palace. I did message 2 or 3 podcasters or fan accounts or whatever, and had conversations of, when are you free? I can't do this day, can't do that day. On my side as well, and just couldn't get it across the line this week, unfortunately, which, to be honest, saddens me as much as anything, because we've had to talk more about Crystal Palace in this than I would like. So I'd rather just go, here's the expert, let them do it. But yeah, couldn't afford the time or the scheduling issues to get it done this week. And that's been my favourite bit of these kind of roundup shows ahead of the game, like hearing more from the opposition. That section's been very good. But yeah, sadly no Palace one, and I will do my very best to get one in place for Chelsea this time next week. Yes, it's been a long week, hasn't it, John? 7 o'clock on a Friday night as we record now. Just not the time.
You get people in the comments saying you're the only international break to.
Honestly, I honestly really tried hard, but
at least it didn't lose wrong.
Wasn't to be. Yeah, it wasn't to be. We normally end with predictions, but we're going to get that out of the way here because we've got a few bits of housekeeping to do in the away from match day section. So, John, predictions so far. You sit on 2 points for the season. I sit on 4. I got the Burnley result spot on with a 3-1. You've got the result right twice with beating Everton and Burnley, but didn't get the scoreline. We both put us to draw away at Anfield. I did 2-2, you did 3-3, just doing different. That went well, didn't it?
I got half of the.
You got half of it, yeah. We get 0 points for the opposition scoreline. So I'm slightly ahead, but like the Premier League table, it's early days, John. There's still plenty of game time for you to get back into this. So Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace at Villa Park this weekend. John Townley, what's your prediction?
2-0 Villa.
2-0 Villa straight in there. Confident?
Yeah, I'm confident. Again, I don't think it's being, I don't know, naive to say it. I just think we're a better team than Crystal Palace, and we have enough to beat them. Yes, they've made a good start, but I think we can beat them.
Yeah,
confident.
I was going to go with 3-0 and say, let's have a clean sheet at home, but that feels slightly bolder than I would like. So I'm going to go 3-1 and say that I expect Palace to score at some point. I don't know who from, to be honest. I don't know who their kind of key man is, but you can just see them scoring off a set piece, can't you? Like you mentioned earlier, they're good at them. We're not very good at them. So Palace to nick a set piece goal, but Villa to be comfortable in the end. 3-1 winners. Let's go for that. Do you want to mention anything about set pieces, or do you just want to move on?
Yeah, I do have a stamp.
That was your cue then to go, just while we're talking about set pieces.
Yeah, we are live. So since Emery took over, only Bournemouth and Palace have conceded. So we did just say that Palace are good from set pieces, but going the other way, then actually worse than Villa. But attacking them, they can score goals. So only Bournemouth and Palace have conceded more goals from set pieces than Villa since Emery took over, which is something that I didn't expect. I think quite a few of them have actually been at the start of this season as well. I think 2 of them were against Liverpool, I think. So yeah, that's obviously an issue moving forward and something that needs to be rectified. Again, only at the start of the season, but this is a trend that we've seen since Emery first took over. You're kind of plucking a negative. You don't want to be negative, and I don't think it's out of context to say that Villa have been poor from defending set pieces, especially given that stat. I think we've conceded 11 goals from set pieces since Emery took over. Obviously, I can't think about all of them off the top of my head, but the 2 against Liverpool weren't great, especially the second one. I think Luka Dean just completely lost Salah at the back post, didn't he? And it wasn't good. Szoboszlai as well. Villa didn't clear the lines properly, and obviously it was a good finish, but yeah, not a great start.
Yeah, so both going with a Villa win. Then there was one score prediction throughout the comment section live on YouTube. Went 2-1 Villa, depending on how we adapt from our injuries, but a couple of key players missing for them, as we obviously talked about throughout the show. Yeah. They also said, I'm so distracted, and this confused me, and this shows what a long week it's been. So distracted by the giant cup. It's bigger than the Champions League trophy. I love it. Glue a couple of handles to the side and spray it silver. Job done. And I read that whilst we were on air, thinking about distracted by the Conference League, because it's a big trophy. I was thinking, silver, so that doesn't really work. But if you put 2 handles on it, maybe it would look more prestigious. The big cup is the big cup, isn't it? My big drinking flask that I spoke about on Monday. If I painted that silver and made another handle on it, would look like a trophy. So
what's the measurement? What's the measurement in that, Dan?
A litre. I've seen smaller litre bottles. It is massive, isn't it? Like for size of my head.
Is it thermal? What is it?
Yeah, it can be. Keeps cold drinks cold. Keeps hot drinks hot.
Probably cold with that. huge.
Multitasking. It's honestly, it's really good. It's really up my water intake. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to do a little bit of housekeeping in the away from match day section. This part of the show is usually reserved for, we've launched a new kit, or let's talk about the stadium or whatever. But we've done all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about ourselves for a little bit.
It's our turn to sell something.
Exactly, yeah. And I want you to sell to me, John, the Europe special. So I've seen a few tweets about this. I've done a couple of my own. Some Villa fans may have seen it, and hopefully they'll have bought it because that's the whole bloody point. There's a Europe special newspaper insert, or whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, we're doing this live, so I can't flash any images on screen, but I will put a link in the description once we finish for you to go and purchase it. Sell it to me, John. What is it? What am I getting for my money if I go and buy the Europe special?
Yeah, so it's basically just a preview of Villa's first European campaign in 13 years now. So, well, longer if you go into group stages. But it's only £3. Myself and Matt Kendrick have been working on it, and it's many thousands of words previewing Villa's Europa Conference League campaign. We're going to look at the group, so the teams that will be playing in the groups, the other teams that are in the competition, some analysis of who Villa could be facing, hopefully after they win the Group E. I think it's Group E, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. So, there'll be features in it, kind of a scene setter, Villa's greatest European nights. Matt wrote that, which is a really good read as well. I read that this morning.
Get the old guy to write that. Makes sense.
To be fair, I didn't want to... I was asked to write most of it, but some of it I couldn't really write because it was, as you say, greatest European nights. I have no recollection of a great European night, really. I remember Ajax, like watching it on the TV, but I can't write about it. So Matt came in clutch there. And really good piece. So many thousands of words on that. And you can get it online. There'll be a link somewhere, Dan, if you want to
down below.
Comment, maybe. Worldwide delivery. So if you're in the USA, Australia, you'll get it. And I think they're shipping now. I think they started shipping a couple of days ago. So if you did buy one for £3, then it should be with you soon. We did a preview for the season, which went down well in terms of a print preview that you can keep as well. Yeah. I don't know. It's probably just some cool memorabilia. If Villa go on to win the Conference League, then you've got something kind of tangible with it as well, which is a nice Birmingham Mail newspaper insert. So only £3 as well. So it's.
I bought the one we did for the 40th anniversary of 1982 last year, obviously 2022. You won't be able to see it, but I've got it behind me. I've still kept it in newspapers. They go a bit funny, don't they? The older they get. It's only a year old, but it's back there, which you won't see. If I move right out of the way, see it there?
Your mic.
There it is. I'm not going to get up and get it because I'm only wearing shorts and I've got my big fat legs, but I've still got it, and it's a good read. So these specials are worth getting. Yeah,
and I kept my when we were promoted back to the Premier League. Obviously, I wasn't working for Birmingham Live then, but I remember going to Morrison's the next day and buying all the papers and stuff, and I've got them in my drawer still. As you say, Dan, it's probably rotting away, but
kind of yellow.
but it's nice to keep, and it's a nice bit of memorabilia.
Yeah, let's wrap up soon. And a couple of other bits to sell very quickly. There'll be loads of information, by the way, in the comments down below. I say sell. I'm not asking you for any money for the next bits, but sell it as in, let's talk about it. So anything we talk about here will be in the podcast notes on Spotify. I think if you scroll down, there's a bunch of text that'll be in there. For YouTube, again, just scroll down and you'll find it. And the bulletin show, John, your new little feature on Spotify only. So again, we're broadcasting this to YouTube. There's a exclusive audio only show now. I'm not going to say daily, but a couple of times a week, maybe. The Villa Bulletin. Talk me through it.
I mean, originally I had planned for it to be a daily briefing, basically, of all things Villa, so what's happened every day. But we kind of thought, well, if we do one for tomorrow, for example, then everything that I'm going to be talking about, I've just spoken about on the Inside Bodymoor show. So it's basically going to be like a filler, I suppose, mainly for the weekdays, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Wednesday to Friday. I don't know. Who knows? We've had one go out so far. So hopefully if you've listened to that, it's only 10 minutes that you enjoyed it. It's basically just to keep you informed, kind of like a bite-sized podcast of here's everything that you might have missed from the Birmingham Live website and me just talking about it. So 10 minutes. You can listen to it if you're at the gym, if you're cooking, if you're in the office and you just want to get up to speed of everything that happened the night before or the day before. You can listen to it in the morning. I don't know. It's up to you. But it's there if you want to listen to it. It's free. It's 10 minutes, and it won't take up too much of your time. It's just the major stories that are going to be happening throughout the day, and maybe some analysis and opinion involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The first one was honestly really good. We spoke about it yesterday about what it would be like, and I was saying if you feel like you're comfortable doing it on your own and you can speak at length for 10 minutes, it's not an easy thing to do.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think
I'll post it.
Yeah, you don't have to get out popcorn to listen to me for 10 minutes. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe I'm boring, but it's just literally so you can keep informed. If you've missed Villa news and you're out and about and you've got a busy day at work or whatever, you can just listen to 10 minutes and you're up to date, and there you go. So,
and I'm the perfect kind of consumer for this. Obviously, I'm not on it, so I listen to it as a fan would. And you spoke about Unai Emery's Villa TV and Moussa Diaby's Villa TV interviews, and I'd not seen the Moussa Diaby one. And you gave some quotes that he'd given in that about how he wants us to get to every cup final. And I was like, well, if I didn't listen to John's bulletin, I didn't have the time to watch the Villa TV interview, although it was only like 5 minutes or something because I'd just missed it. So the bulletin was worthy for me at least, and there we come in as and when. But if you're already subscribed to Claret and Blue, they'll be on the same feed anyway. So, worth looking out for. Yeah. This away from matchday section is getting away from here a little bit now, and is beginning longer than the Crystal Palace preview. So we're going to round up very, very quickly. Do you remember the Claret and Blue newsletter? Old-time viewers of the Claret and Blue podcast. We used to post it either once a week, or when we did a big interview, we'd do a big written piece to go out to emails as well. And we'd do a weekly roundup where we'd say, here's all the content we've done this week. If you've missed any, here's a handy email into your inbox every Monday or whatever it was with the 6 podcasts that we've done recently. That's coming back. Hooray, said everybody. We'll be sending these after every single podcast we upload this time rather than once a week. Obviously, we won't spam anyone with adverts or anything like that. It will literally just be, if you sign up, again, link down below, it's free. You'll get an email notification from me or John every time we upload a podcast saying, hello, we've uploaded a podcast. Here it is, in case you missed it, because our analytics show us on YouTube, to be proper boring about it, so many people that are subscribed to our content don't actually see a lot of it. It doesn't get pushed out to people because of algorithms and stuff, which is frankly nonsense. So this would basically just be like a notification sent to your email. So when you check it every morning, Claret and Blue sent you an email. Here's the podcast we did yesterday, for example. So there'll be a link down below for that as well. And again, anytime we do a big interview, when those come back, the Claret and Blue newsletter subscriber base get those early. So as like an exclusive deal, let's say, for signing up. Again, it's absolutely free. You just have to put your email address in, and the link for that will be down below as well. That's it, John. Inside Bodymoor is done live on YouTube. I will have edited this down a little bit for the audio-only listeners, but I think it's been a good show. Upcoming next is the post-match reaction show on Saturday evening. That'll be me and Matt Kendrick. 7 o'clock-ish is our expectation for a 3 o'clock kickoff, and we'll chat for half an hour about the post-match vibe, basically how we feel about what we've seen, how outraged we are at whatever we've seen at Villa Park, and how happy we are about 3 points or whatever happens. Deep breath. A lot of talking. And then the Monday show will be back on Monday, as you'd expect. John, you'll be back for that one to analyse whatever's happened at the weekend, and also look ahead to our trip, or your trip at least, to Poland next week as well, which will be crop up plenty of talking points, I'm sure. So, John, thanks for joining me on Friday evening. Thanks everyone who's watched along live on YouTube, and for those that are listening after the fact between now and tomorrow afternoon's kick-off at Villa Park as well. Cheers for tuning in, as always. As I said, loads upcoming, so stay subscribed to Claret and Blue, and we'll see you all again very, very soon.